Hey guys, July 29th, 2025. A friend of mine called me this morning and she said her son's going off to college to study architecture and he needs a PC for 3D modeling to use for programs such as Autodesk, Revit, and Autodesk Inventor. I looked up the PC specs and found out what parts I should be using. And then I went down to Micro Center, just got back 2 hours ago, and I'm going to list the specs and everything in the description below, but everything out the door is about $1,100 with the 5% off discount using the Micro Center credit card. And I'll show you the specs right now and the parts. So we got the Montech XR case in all white. It comes with 3 ARGB fans pre-installed. It has 2 panes of glass front and side. It's very compact. Processor Ryzen 7 9700X. And the cooling is the Thermalright Phantom Spirit 120 SE ARGB. Motherboard is a Gigabyte B650 Gaming X AX V2. AX means it comes with Wi-Fi 6. Power supply, always trusty, reliable Corsair CX650M, bronze rated PSU. Memory, it comes with G.Skill Flare X5. This is 32 gigabytes, DDR5, 6000 mega transfers. This is a CL to the 36. And the reason it's CL36, unfortunately not CL30, because this entire bundle is discounted. So the CPU combo with the motherboard and the RAM is $429.99. I'm going to put a screenshot of the combo from Micro Center's website on the screen right now. Check it out. If I wanted to upgrade to CL30, I would have had to buy the CL30 for like $95 separately. And then all these parts right here, these 2 parts would go up to full price and I wouldn't be saving any money. So I think if you buy the combo, it's $150 saved for buying all 3 together. And then we have the 990 Pro by Samsung, 2 terabyte. Right now, 1 terabyte is about $100, and this is like $150 for 2 terabytes. So it's actually more cost efficient to get the 2 terabyte than the 1 terabyte. If you buy 2 single 1 terabytes, that's already $200. So it doesn't make sense to buy a small drive and have to upgrade later. That way, you won't be filling it up anytime soon. And then for the GPU, this is primarily not a gaming computer. And I know the reviews for the 5060 aren't great because it only comes with 8 gigabytes of VRAM. It only takes like 1 power connector or cable from the PSU. I believe like an 8-pin or maybe a 6-pin. What you need for 3D modeling is actually high clocked single core performance. And once in a while you do need multi-core, but with the Ryzen 7 right here, this is a 8-core 16-thread CPU. I think for just a student starting off, and plus that it's AM5, it's upgradable in the future. 2 years from now, he wants to upgrade, we can just update the BIOS and then pop in, latest generation CPUs. Zen 6 is coming out maybe next year. So that could be an option if he decides that 8 cores is not enough. We could go to 12, we can go to 16. Like I just built a 9950X 3D system. That one is 16 core, 32 thread. So it's a very low power card, and for the 3D modeling, you don't need a lot of VRAM. People are saying, at least 4 gigabytes. This is 8, and the next card up from this would be like $350. Right now, the 5060s are about $299, and then if you want 16 gigabytes, it's about $350 for, let's say, a 5060 Ti, or a 9060 XT would be like $350 to $400. All right, so we're gonna get building, and get everything started. Like normal, we're gonna put everything on the box, motherboard, install the CPU, the cooler, hook it up to the power supply, put the graphics card in there with the RAM, and just test everything and update the BIOS and install Windows before we put it in the case. Again, the specs will be in the description below. You can go ahead and click the link to Gigabyte's website, get to read about everything that's on this board. But it's nice, built-in I/O shield. It's going to have pretty much everything that a student would need for a PC. It's full-size ATX, so he can expand it. He can add more memory, can add a second drive, can add like SATA SSDs on the side. Has all the connectivity that he's going to need, maybe to add external hard drives, flash drives, whatever, and all the peripherals. And it has built-in display, and the CPU also has integrated graphics in case GPU dies or something like that, or he wants to connect a second monitor and he runs out of ports. Unbox the 9700X. There you go, 8 core, 16 thread, unlocked. We're going to enable PBO, Precision Boost Overdrive, undervolt slightly, and overclock. Here's how it comes, just a clamshell. You got a sticker for the case. And it makes it run faster if you put the sticker on your case. So here's how you install it. Now with AM5, this is the first time in a long time that AMD's decided to use the LGA type socket, land grid array, whereas the pins are actually on the CPU socket and not on the CPU itself. So generally in the past, like AM4, AM3, AM2, they all had pins sticking out of the bottom of the CPU. Okay, so this is how you install it. You're going to open up the lid, right? Lift up the cover, exposing the pins there. Grab the CPU from the sides carefully. You're going to see here is a golden triangle in the top left, right there. And then on the board itself, actually in the socket, in this metal retaining bracket, there is an arrow, a triangle up in this corner. So you're just going to match those up. And then the Ryzen text should be facing you. So the RAM slots are on the right. You've got the text going across this way where it says Ryzen. So you can't mess that up. There's a notch here. There's a notch there. It only goes in one way. So no pressure. You just lightly drop it in and you make sure it's centered. And you're going to bring the arm down. It's going to take some pressure. Don't be afraid, you won't break it. And then the cover pops off. Make sure you save this for warranty purposes. Gigabyte will not take this back, or any motherboard manufacturer will not take the motherboard back without the cover installed during shipping, because if you send it back without the cover, they could say it was damaged during shipping, even worse than it already was, and you will not get a refund or replacement. So make sure you put this in the motherboard box and then put that away for safekeeping. Next, we're going to install the 990 Pro SSD. So like any 2280 drive, pretty standard size. Gonna have to unscrew the cover for the heatsink. There's probably a thermal pad under there. We'll install that. Keeps the heat down. These do get pretty hot when you do a lot of reads and writes. So once you unscrew the heatsink cover, take your drive. There's the gold contacts. 45 degrees into the slot. Fully seated until the gold contacts are fully inserted. Screw it down. Until it's tight. Not too tight, just snug. Peel off the backing or thermal pad. Insert that, 45, and then screw it back down. Very easy. No cables to connect like the old days. That's it. 2 terabytes. So to install the Thermalright cooler, or most aftermarket coolers, you have to take off the stock original AM5 hold downs that come with it. The stock AM5 hold down is just 2 plastic retaining brackets, and usually the clips from the CPU cooler just hook onto the edges here. So we're going to take these completely off, put them in the motherboard box, save them for later. These 8-core CPUs don't come with stock cooler, so we're using aftermarket cooling and Thermalright for the money, $50. Very good deal and very good performance. Competes against the Noctua NHD 15s, and those are way over $100. I have one in my 9950X3D and it's working just fine. Especially with PBO, and it has limits and everything, it won't get over like 85 degrees. For the RAM, it's very easy. Make sure you take out your other sticker. Make the computer go 3 times as fast. There's your one stick. Look at the gold contacts. It's longer on the right, shorter on the left. And you look down into the socket and you can see how it lines up. Open up. You want to use these 2 here. On the board it's marked channel A2, B2. So it's going to go this way. You're going to press straight down. Clicks on both. Sticker to the left. Press down. Click, click. That's it. RAM's fully installed. I'm not going to bore you too much with the install, but it is pretty simple once you read the manual. I've already installed one on my personal computer, so I know how this goes. AM5, AM4, AMD, you want the pink standoffs. And in that same bag, it's going to come with the long screws. For the retention bracket, it's marked AM4. Don't worry, AM4 is the same as AM5, same dimensions. So you're going to use the curved brackets. The straight ones that come in the bag are for Intel. And then you also get the fan clips for the tower, fan splitter, thermal paste comes in the box, so you don't need to buy any. This should be good enough. And there's your tower. Just note that it is designed with a sweep. It's actually offset. So the reason is that you want the cooler to be away from the VRM on the top here. If you turn it this way, it'll be too close when you mount it. So if you mount it this way and you set it straight down, it will clear the VRM in the back here. So just pay attention to that. This curved part should be facing you and not this way. If it's facing away from you, then it's going the wrong way. Make sure you peel off the sticker on the back before you mount it and put the thermal paste on. makes it easier to install everything outside of the case first. That way the chassis is not in the way up here, trying to reach your hands up around the cooler to install things. So once you're there, tight, snug, just light pressure. Don't want to go too crazy, crack the board. Warning, peel before use. See right there? Make sure you do that. If you don't, you're going to wonder why your CPU is overheating. Alright, thermal paste. Kind of ghetto, but got a credit card here. I'm just going to spread it out as much as I can. Right there. They're spring loaded, so there's only so much pressure you can actually put on the socket. But you want to go all the way till it stops to make good contact with the CPU. With the IHS, so I've got the first fan installed. You just put the clips on the sides and pull the clips over. I'll show you the second fan. You want to see where your wires are coming out. The CPU fan wires, they connect to the top of the motherboard, so you want them facing that way and towards the bottom, so they're out of the way. So second fan slides into the tower, making sure that the fan direction, the wind is blowing, the air is blowing out that way. You can see the frame of the fan, and the air is going to go away from the case out the back exhaust. So lower it down about even, pull the clips so it's fully seated. That's it for the second fan. And then you have two wires here. You have RGB and you have the PWM, or the fan connection here. And there's a splitter that comes with, so we're going to connect the splitter from the first fan right here. First fan, second fan, and then this one goes right to the motherboard. It's labeled system fan, and this one is gray. I know it's hard to see. I can turn the board a little bit. Right here is system fan, and we have a splitter going to both. So based on the sensors in the CPU, tells the motherboard more voltage, and then it will spin the fans quicker for more cooling. And then you have the RGB coming off of it. It's going to daisy chain onto this one. So we only need one RGB header. It's addressable, the 3-pin. You can see it's 3-pin, it's not 12 volt. If it's 4 pins, it's 12 volt. And it's not addressable. That means you cannot control the color through software. That's it. So these wires, we will clean them up later once they're installed in the case. Everyone's favorite part of unboxing and building a PC is just checking out the GPU. So let's see what comes in the box. It's the first PNY card I've ever bought. I've had Gigabytes, I've had Asus cards, EVGA in the past. Rest in peace, EVGA. I used to have GTX 580s from EVGA and SLI, and then I had 2070 Super. Actually, the RTX 2070 original. Check this out. There was a dual slot version of this for the same price, so I figured, you know what, let's just get the 3-slot cooler. Even though this doesn't put out a lot of heat, it'll just run quieter with the 3 fans because I can spin at a slower RPM. So we're gonna do everyone's favorite part, is the peel. If you can find the plastic on it. Peel. Fail. Can't get it in one piece. And you got some on the back too. There we go. Blow through design, like all the newer RTX cards, even my 4070 Ti Super. The 3rd fan, the back plate is ventilated, so it just goes completely through the back plate. Takes an 8-pin right here. As far as output, today we're going to use DisplayPort, just the first one there. That's your X16 slot. Take your card, line it up, and that's how I use the edge of the box for support, and then press straight down, and that's it. Let it rest right there on the edge, right there. The box is supporting it just like a case would. The power supply, Corsair CX650M, Semi-Modular. You can see we've got the main CPU 24-pin and 8-pin connected already, and then whatever is optional, like we're not using hard drives or SSDs, the 2.5-inch ones, so we don't need to connect those. All we need is an 8-pin for the graphics card and the optional 4-pin I'm going to use today for the CPU. Right there, the 8-pin, all the way down, and then that's all the power we need to update the BIOS. So we're going to show you how to do the Q flash. Okay, let's flash the BIOS. Turn on the PSU. It's going to go into the BIOS flashback port, or Q flash, as Gigabyte calls it. You use the screwdriver here. Hold this down. Okay, it's reading. See, it's flashing. You can see the LEDs turned on. RGB is on the graphics card. And all you have to do is wait till the light stops flashing on the USB drive. I'll be back once that's done. I'm going to connect the monitor keyboard and install Windows. pretty much after the Windows is installed, it's going to say BIOS has been reset because I did flash it. I'm going to hit OK and just double check everything. F35 BIOS, 32 gigabytes of RAM. Right now it's at 4800 mega transfers, and we have Expo disabled. We can go ahead and do Expo 1, and that's pretty much it. And then we'll just get into Windows and do the initial setup and then install everything in the case. Okay, so I went to the BIOS, I went to advanced mode, enabled PBO, 80 level 1, so 80 is the max temperature it's going to run at, and Expo 1 is enabled. That's for 6000 mega transfers on the RAM. We'll see if it works. Save and exit. See if it'll boot. It should, because it's not that aggressive. And level 1 is like curve optimizer. I believe it's like a -10 on the curve. So it's just a slight undervolt. Lower temperature means higher boost clocks. But you can only go so low. The lower you go, the less voltage you'll get to the CPU, and it may not run when it tries to boost. Because higher clocks need more voltage. So it's kind of a trade-off. You're saving temperature and heat and stress on the CPU, but if you go too low, it won't run. There we go, we're in Windows. I'm going to do the initial setup. Yes. United States. Keyboard layout is US. No second keyboard layout. And then we'll connect it to the internet and get the Windows updates in. Okay, going to unbox the case. Easiest way that I found. Turn it upside down. Have the foam protecting the top and the bottom. Flip it over carefully. Gotta save the foam for packing. Once the computer is built, put everything back inside. That's it. And dust filter we'll put back in once we're all done. Quick preview of the case before everything goes in. There's the front I/O, USB 3.0, and then we have Type C, Type A, power, reset, microphone, headphone. 2 RGB fans for intake, 1 for exhaust. It's pretty compact, be good on a desk. So just something I noticed with the tall air towers right here and the graphics card, even with the extended tab right there to remove the GPU or the graphics card, it's really hard to reach. So you're gonna have to use this is like wooden, so it won't damage anything. It's just a wooden knife. Press down on the tab, deactivate it, then you can pull the card out gently. We're going to put everything back in the box just to keep it safe before we install into the case. Options are very light, and side panels come off pretty easily. There's grooves on the bottom here, and you just tilt the panel like towards you, and then they just unlock from the top automatically. Same with the front. So when you're building, you want to take all the glass out. There's the back. Inside the bottom of the drive cage here, there's a manual and accessories. You have the cable tie downs. You have the motherboard screws. These are hard drive screws. Everything else that you need, and some cable clips. And this is a microfiber for the glass. I can lift it with one arm. So one last look before we get everything installed. So we're going to start with the power supply, because I want to route the cable through the top here before I put the motherboard in. And inside of your Corsair power supply box is going to be the screws for the PSU. So just remember, they don't come with the case, they come with the power supply. Should be 4, and I'll line it up. Let's get the first one installed. Let's see, cables are kind of pulling it to one side, but line up the bottom corner. Just something I noticed, pretty cool. You usually don't see these included in the case, but that's a motherboard speaker. You don't have to use it, it's optional, but you know, it's the first that I've seen it included. And then you're gonna get extra standoffs here for the motherboard, and then this little piece is like a standoff wrench that you can use a regular Phillips screwdriver head on the back, and you could tighten or remove standoffs. Okay, carefully, by holding the CPU cooler, I'm going to angle the motherboard into the case, aim it towards the I/O shield, or the back I/O panel. Watch out for all the cables that are in the way. And rest it onto the standoffs. There should be about 9. That's it. It should sit directly on the posts that are pre-installed. Yep, and then looking down straight through the top, you should see all the holes. And then conveniently, Montech, they label the bags. So this one says motherboard SSD times 20 screws. So it's the same exact screws that you would use for the drives if you had 2.5-inch drives or 3.5. That's it, all 9 are installed. The motherboard is secured to the case. We're going to start doing the wiring. So here's a little minor compatibility issue. I guess with just maybe this motherboard or the spacing for the grommet here. It's kind of tight. So that 20 pin USB 3 has to come out. It can't go like directly from the grommet into the connector because it's such a tight angle, and you don't want to bend the socket, so you have to loop this around so it's flexible enough to fit and go straight in without bending. Check this out. Front panel is actually all unified into one plug, and it'd be nicer if more companies did this so you don't have to plug each individual hard drive LED, reset, and power switch. The only thing is I don't know which direction is positive or negative, but I'm going to try right here first, and then if it doesn't work I'll flip it over. But the board is marked, the connectors are here, so all goes in at one time. Alright, next part, video card. Got most of the wires done, not cleaned up yet, and still haven't tested if the RGB lighting is hooked up correctly. There's only one addressable RGB header, and then there's a couple splitters that are all connected together. So hopefully it works. Take out the 2 slot covers there. Put the card in. Hopefully the USB doesn't run into it. Alright, card is in. I have to put the screws on the side. So now we put the screws in to hold the graphics card in. And I would say that these openings on the bottom are a little bit small. I would have liked to have them a little bit wider so that this cable can fit through this side. Alright, have no idea if it's going to work. First time powering it on. Hopefully it's wired correctly. Hitting the power button. Alright, we got lights. Looks like all the fans are synced up together. And it's booting. The speaker just beeped. And we are in Windows. It's pretty cool. First time. Plugged everything in, no mistakes. Now I just got to clean up the wires a little bit better, do some cable management in the back, and then we'll wrap it all up and see how it performs. Going to run some stress tests, some benchmarks. The build is all complete. Just want to show you some of the cable management that I did in the back. Not that professional, but I used the Velcro ties that it came with. There's 2 extra in the bag. This one was already installed. Just bundled as many as I could together. And then the accessories and the spare parts, I always leave them in the drive cage, so the new owner can grab whatever zip ties and accessories they need in the future. If they're gonna maybe install any more drives right here in the cage, there's extra screws. They can put SSD right here if they're gonna use a 2.5 inch. And then, forgot to mention, comes with a dust filter on all 3 sides. So this one's magnetic. You actually can peel it, clean it off, stick it back on. It goes just like that in the grooves. And the top has a filter, removable. fits 360mm radiator up top if you want. So just something I wanted to show you guys about this case. It is only a $70 case, and I guess there's some design flaws here. Nothing too major that prevented me from building it, but you can see where maybe it's just this motherboard, the way that the grommet is, it's too tight of a turn. See, it's 90 degrees for the USB 3. So what I had to do is come out the bottom here and go like in front of the fan, because it's just too tight of a fit there. There's no way to bend that very thick cable and head of the connector into that 90-degree slot. So just be advised if you guys are using this case. Overall, it was very easy to use, easy to build, and the power supply shroud, it is very bendy here. It's a very thin metal, but we're not really putting any weight on it, so it does work. And the panel here is pretty thin, but overall you do get a lot of value for the $70 that we paid for this case. These are RGB fans, and they're actually reverse bladed. They pull air from the outside here. This is an intake, and then you get 2 intake, and you get 1 exhaust already pre-installed. And I also highly recommend this Thermalright. Highly recommend the Thermalright Peerless Assassin. I highly recommend the Thermalright Phantom Spirit 120 SE. Best value for $50. That's how fast it boots up. Takes less than 30 seconds to get to Windows. Got an RGB set up. So right now it's going to be in Windows, and then once it gets into Windows, it goes to rainbow mode. And then you're going to see the lights flash, and once they flash, they will go into rainbow alternating mode. That's because we're using Gigabyte Control Center, which is right here. And if you go to RGB Fusion, you have all the options here. You can go static, flashing mode, pulsing, D-flash, cycle mode, all the different colors. You can customize, pick whatever color you want. Back to rainbow wave, or off at nighttime if you're sleeping. So I'm just going to leave it like this, and then the owner can adjust and customize the colors as they wish. And let me show you what specs we have. Go to Task Manager, Performance, Ryzen 7 9700X, 8-core processor, 8-core 16 threads here, base speed 3.8 gigahertz. We got 32 gigabytes running at 6,000 mega transfers. And then for the full specs, we can go to System Info. Windows 11 Home. We got Gigabyte B650 Gaming X AX V2. And there's the CPU, the 9700X. Latest BIOS is F35. Just came out July 16th, 2025. And there's your system RAM, 32 gigs. It's very simple. Things only plug in one way. There's lots of tutorials online. But yeah, just take your time and Just make sure you get everything plugged in the right ports, and give yourself about 2 hours to put everything together. And I would say the only issue I had was the software. The Gigabyte control center is kind of buggy, to be honest, and it took me several tries to get the lights working. I had to like uninstall, reinstall control center. And then also I want to tell you guys, Velocity X is for the PNY card, and that's for the RGB lighting on the video card. That is used separately to control the lighting. So we can go here, lighting here, and then you have all your different modes and speed, brightness, everything. So Gigabyte Control Center does not control the graphics card because it's not a Gigabyte card. So that's the only thing to be that's the only thing to know, because there's so many different brands of RGB devices, and then every brand has its own software and they don't all work together. So luckily for this system, we're only using 2 brands of software, but sometimes you might have a system that uses like Corsair RAM, and you might have like graphics card from a different brand, and you might have like an Asus motherboard, or maybe MSI or ASRock, and they all have their own different software like Aura Sync, and this uses RGB Fusion. But there are some softwares called like OpenRGB, and there's a few others that I forget, but you can use those to control the lighting. All right, let me turn the lights off real quick and show you what the lights look like. So I just want to show you the lighting options real quick. If you go into Control Center, RGB Fusion, you have all your settings here. Static mode, you can use this wheel here to change the colors. Blue, we got green, yellow or white, purple. So whatever you want. And then you have pulse, flash, cycle mode, and head-on rainbow wave. So I'm just going to leave it like this for the owner. They can adjust it however they want. Fan tuning, I've got the fans set to silent mode. It's a very low power system. It doesn't pull more than like 85 watts. I think it runs at like 65 watt TDP. And performance mode, you can check all your specs, what everything is running at. Remember to check the parts list linked below in the description. You can see everything that we got in the system and how much it cost as of July 2025 at Micro Center. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. You got some entertainment value, and maybe it inspired you to build your own PC. I'll see you in the next video.